In this video, I'm going to be showing you the best settings in college football 26. Now, we're at the home screen here, and all you're going to do is you're going to simply tab over by hitting the R1 button until you are in the settings menu. From there, you're going to hit on the game settings, and we're going to go through what are the best settings in the game. Now, day one, in my personal opinion, the best offensive playbook in this game for day one college football, and what we're going to be putting our ebook on is going to be this Oregon State offensive playbook. This playbook is unbelievably effective, super good. Couple honorable mentions: New Mexico State is really good. I think Oregon itself is really good. Notre Dame is really good, but I think Oregon State is the best offense playbook in college football 26, and we're going to be dropping an ebook on that in our school community. If you're not a member of that yet, it's only $10, and the link is in the description to get you access to all of our full offensive, defensive ebooks for both college football and for Madden. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, we are going to be dropping some stuff in there as well. And I'm going to go ahead and start out with the 3-3-5 tight defensive playbook. We'll have to kind of test defense out a little bit more. We didn't have a great grasp on that pre-launch, but we do know that Oregon State is going to be the best offense. For skill level, I set this to Heisman. For the clock management stuff, this isn't super important. The big thing here is the coin toss first choice. You want to make sure that this is set to kick. This is super important. You also want to have the coin toss second choice to be with the wind. Now, for the kicking scheme, I personally like to tap and tap. I think that's the kind of closest we can get it to Madden. Kind of preference there, but I like to tap and tap there. Wear and tear, I would love to turn this off, but I think they have it enabled in game, so we'll just leave this on. I think it's one of the worst things in the game, personally. But this is the biggest thing that I wanted to go over: passing settings in college football 26. You want to make sure that you are playing on placement and accuracy. That is super important. It's going to give you the most amount of control over your passes. Passing slowdown, go ahead and leave this off. Pass lead increase. What I really want you to do, at least for right now, is set this on none. I think that is so important, because what that's going to do is it's going to help prevent overthrows from occurring. And I'm going to personally, until we get more used into the game, I'm going to go ahead and set the reticle speed all the way as low as 3. I've seen players have it at 7. I've had it at times at 13. I've even seen it go all the way up to 15 and maybe even 20. But for where I'm at in terms of how I like to play the game, and what I would recommend to you, is probably 3. I think that's the most forgiving freeform settings that you could possibly have in the game. And then as we go down here, we'll take a look at the tackling mechanics. Not really nothing super important right there, but the big thing here you want to make sure that you have defensive ball hawk set to on. That is really important. You're just going to be able to hold the swat button or the catch button when you're on defense, as opposed to having to tap it. Really helpful for catching interceptions. Defensive heat seeker assist. My recommendation for this is I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and I'm going to have it on 100%. For the switch stick delay, some people like to have this on slide, especially if you're a little bit more of a beginner player and you're still learning how to switch stick properly. But in my opinion, I do think it's best to just have this on none. Could see an advantage to having it on slide, but I think in general, I like to have it on none. Defensive switch assist. When a user switches players to another defender, user movement will be assisted to prevent them from taking their players out of the game. If you're a beginner player, leave this off. Or turn this on. But if you're a advanced player, I would go ahead and leave this off. I've left it off pretty much universally. The only other settings that I think are super important is if you want to have crossplay on, you can turn that on. I like to have that off. I just think it helps with connectivity issues. But if you're playing a friend and all that, you can turn that on, no problem. The biggest thing here is the accessibility settings. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give you is turn off the dynamic camera effects. And then the other big one is to come down here to the bottom and make sure that this force off motion blur is set to yes. That is super important, just in terms of how the game is going to play for you. And those are the best settings in college football 26. If you want to take your game to the next level, make sure that you join our school community. I'll put a link to that down in the description, and you'll be able to get access to all of our offensive and defensive ebooks for just $10 for both college football and for Madden. Hope to see you over in the school community.